the whole, before we get into any of the specifics, a good start over the last couple of days, a welcome return of the best quality football that we see really ever, is it?
Let's park the best quality of football as well, and just say that I did enjoy the last two nights football. It came back, it was more crash bang wallop the last two nights. I was working on the Manchester United game. That was interesting for a few different reasons. Then obviously Liverpool last night was really enjoyable. It was it's been a while now since I sat in front of the telly. I haven't left the telly almost during the game. It was one of those games last night against Milan. Just atmosphere inside the stadium was just like woof, just coming out of the TV, dripping out of the TV, wasn't it?
We missed that, it turns out. When football came back after the first lockdown, we were very grateful to have anything, but it wasn't really football, was it?
Yeah, and even those kind of we got 400 people inside in the main stands. Just to have a few people, wasn't quite buying into that one either, to be honest with you. You know, even visually looking at those stadiums, even kind of quarter, half full for me, it just not really. But that last night was that was pretty special last night at Anfield.
Who was Jordan Henderson making the sounds to? Was it like, I wasn't in the team at the weekend, and you took a little bit of...
You didn't think I was worth 280 grand? You only thought I was worth 260? Yeah, really?
That's what it was, the contract.
I don't know.
Because I was wondering, it was like, it took them a while. They got there eventually in the end, you know?
Yeah. It was... Well, it was an obvious... Well, not an obvious one, actually. Spoke to a couple of Liverpool supporters. What Liverpool do? Bloody ass Jordan Henderson, but... I could understand maybe Liverpool's reluctance to commit. I don't know how long the contract was in the end. It's obviously one of the bounds of contention was a 3 years, Jared. I don't know. Obviously, Henderson's looking for as long as contract as he wants, and there's big money at play there. But Jordan Henderson wouldn't be the first high profile player at his age at a big club who, signed a 3-4 year, was given a 3-4 year contract, and within 12 to 18 months had kind of dropped off a cliff, but in terms of performance, serious deterioration in terms of, their physical condition, etc., and their kind of impact in the squad. So I understood Liverpool's reluctance to commit to that length of a contract on those terms.
His contract will now expire on June 30th, 2025. So that's 4 seasons, 4 years from now, but it might have only added on an extra 1 year as opposed to being added on an extra 2, but it's plenty.
Oh, it's plenty for him, and what you have now is you have a happy camper around the change room. Although I didn't look particularly happy, like you say, after he hit that goal last night. It was a sweet strike, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's also like, so obviously the injury happens at the weekend, and they're like, we'll put our most experienced player, our captain, back in the team. It's the squad depth is an issue at Liverpool, and it will become an issue over the course of the rest of the season if they continue to have significant long-term injuries. But at the moment, they can deal with it. Yeah,
and that was Liverpool for me last night. In terms, it was no coincidence the way Liverpool started the game. We all know kind of high energy, high intensity, high press, swarming around people, that high defensive line. But that can only be effective if you get the right kind of personnel on the pitch. And this is the interesting debate about Liverpool the last year or so in terms of different players who've come into the team, particularly in that central midfield area. But I don't think it was any surprise. I think Klopp was looking to really come out of blocks last night and really impose himself on Milan, actually overrun them, kind of suffocate them. So it was no surprise Thiago was parked on the bench last night and Keita came into the team, because Liverpool have been at their best. That central midfield for me, obviously the front three to an extent, but that central midfield is key in terms of their energy, their kind of physicality, their kind of high intensity, how they almost maul opponents. That's how they won their first league title. And we saw that last night in the presence of Henderson, Fabinho and Keita. Keita's had a difficult time, but he's got legs. He's physical, he's kind of aggressive. Didn't have a great game last night, but he kind of contributed. So that was more the Liverpool blueprint, DNA, whatever you want to call it, that's been successful for them over the past couple of years. Yeah, let's take last year out of the equation to a small extent. We know the circumstances there, but so that's Liverpool I'd like to see.
Were you surprised to see Origi start? Because he doesn't really start these big games.
Yeah, you're right. A little bit surprised, but again, what I'd say is legs, can get around the pitch, can start that press, can go and engage opposition centre halves, and can do it continually over the course of 90 minutes. You know what I mean? So he wasn't bringing in a player who was going to weaken. For me, what drove that team sheet last night was how Liverpool out possession. We need to be perfect out possession in terms of how we hunt this team down. These are good football inside Milan. Got some very talented individual players, like to play the game at kind of their pace. So Liverpool have to kind of counteract that, and they have the team to do it in terms of that kind of tenacity that we're talking about, that kind of high energy. And I think Origi kind of provided that, albeit a little bit higher up the pitch.
Yeah. So it's clear that they're trying to manage the minutes of the players. There's no Virgil last night, and it's a similar number of changes and a similar approach to the game that Manchester United took, but there's a difference in the quality of the teams at the moment. Maybe not in the quality of the personnel, but there's certainly a difference in terms of the team understanding what they're trying to do, what their identity is.
Yeah, but Klopp made the changes last night, but the balance of the team for me wasn't affected. Van Dijk coming out, Gomez coming in, fundamentally nothing changes. Obviously, in terms of the qualities of Van Dijk, I understand that, but in terms of really the balance of the team, the midfield three for me was strengthened actually by Henderson coming into the Van der Beek came into the Manchester United team the other night. Pogba got shifted out onto the left wing, playing left of a three. So the balance, that shifts the whole balance of the Manchester United. It's a skew now where the changes Liverpool made last night, that wasn't the case. Even Origi going centrally and Jota coming onto the left hand side, fundamentally the balance of the team didn't change. And like I said, in the engine room, in that central area of the pitch, Liverpool were strengthened for me. You mentioned about strength and depth, maybe to an extent. I mean, I'm a big fan of Curtis Jones. I've got to be honest with you, the last year or so, I thought there was a time last year he was actually going to break through and hold down a place in that central midfield. I think potentially he could be the best Liverpool all-round central midfield in the next 2 to 3 years. I think he's developed into play. He's got a bit of everything. Physically, he's more mature now. I think the defensive side of the game is improving, which it has to do because of the things that we've been talking about, what you have to do in that central midfield area for Liverpool. And he's a very technical player, and he's got legs, and he's got an end product in terms of goals. So when we talk about those other Liverpool central midfield players, they've all, whether it's Fabinho, Henderson, Thiago's kind of ball playing, his technical ability, but kind of no legs, can't trust him defensively. But Curtis Jones for me is potentially the one I think who can actually step in to that Liverpool midfield. Certainly, even this year I'm looking at. Even last night, when he came on, I was impressed with him. You know, real confidence when he came on the pitch, going and getting on the ball. He's got legs, he can get around the pitch. I think he's a real talent. I'm really interested to see. I'll be interested to see how Klopp thinks about what he really thinks about him. I know he'll come out publicly and say, oh yeah, great talent, we love him here, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day,
how big the games are going to be that he picks him?
Yeah, minutes on the pitch. Ultimately, it's all about minutes. You can talk about how much I trust me player. Yeah, I love him. Oh yeah, we're so lucky to have him. But you know, when the big games
might be available for 15 to 20 million.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm a big fan. So you're talking about strength and depth. For me, he's the one. Harvey obviously showed up well early in the season, but Jones is the one for me in that kind of central midfield area who could really break through. I know a lot of people talk about Thiago, but for me it's Jones is the one for me who can actually elevate Liverpool potentially.
So in theory they can actually take injuries at this point to almost anybody with the exception of Salah. Is that kind of what we feel about Liverpool?
It depends what you mean they can't take an injury to Salah. Well, they miss him obviously in terms of his
none of the
goals,
replacements they have for him. Like take Salah out of the team and they're definitely a significantly weakened side. Most of the great sides,
it's pretty obvious, isn't it?
Well, he's reached that level now where if he's not on the team sheet, the opposition goes, we have a chance. But if he isn't the team sheet, you're very concerned about it. I suppose what I'm saying is the squad is big enough to deal with almost any injuries.
Yeah, I think so. Well, that's the beauty of Jota in particular coming in. He's very versatile. Jota can operate anywhere across the front three and even in behind. So you talk about Salah coming out of the team, and yeah, absolutely, in terms of his numbers speak for themselves, but I don't think it's a case, well, who have we got to play right side of a three? I mean, Jota predominantly just slides over there, like, you know what I mean? I don't think he can, don't give you a chin to be on the floor. As a Liverpool supporter, Diego Jota was popping up right side of a three, Mane and potentially kind of Firmino as well, so yeah, you can always make that. What if they lose? Yeah, what if they lose Van Dijk again? Yeah, what if they lose Henderson for a long period of time?
If they lose Van Dijk again, have they got enough now that Matip and Gomez are back, and they've signed Konate, and like
they're going to have to challenge. If you ask me, they've got to have to challenge for the title.
Yeah,
like, absolutely.
Yeah, that's the thing, because like obviously last year they didn't have enough. The squad wasn't deep enough.
Well, no, but they had those key instrumental figures missing for long periods. Van Dijk in particular was absolutely huge, and obviously some significant injuries. Apart from that, that was pretty exceptional. It's very difficult to plan over the course of the season for losing key players for such a long period of time. But I like to look at the squad. I like to look at the squad now. It hasn't been a huge amount of investment. Konate's a good player, actually. I like him. Haven't seen a lot of him yet, but they have been strengthened there. So no, I wouldn't be overly critical. I know a few Liverpool supporters, a little bit weak here and there. I don't see any obvious weaknesses in terms of the strength of the squad, and everybody, as key players, as with any team, keep fit for the majority of the season, key parts of the season. I think they'll be fine, and I expect them to be challenging. The
third generation of Maldini's obviously coming on last night with about 10 minutes left to go. If something's going to make you feel old, I presume that was it, was it?
I know, centre forward, wasn't he? I've seen a little bit of him play, actually, to be honest with you. Yeah, you can see the similarities there, couldn't you? Must be a killer for the old man. First touch actually tried a little something, didn't come off. It's got to be one of them. You're grimacing a little bit of the old man in the stadium. But
so Liverpool are in rude health. They're able to make changes. They still win, even though they're up against a side who give them their fill of it in Europe. They've got to be pretty happy with life at the moment.
Yeah, I think so. In comparison to where they were, a roller coaster for season last year. Yeah, absolutely.